Welcome to Voluntary Living, the weekly visit to all things voluntary that we do here at Buckwheat Farms, Magick, Emporium, and Ballroom. It's interesting that we do this on Tuesday, and this purposely. Tuesday is named after the Norse god Tyr. Tyr was a god whose one hand was cut off, but yet he was honorable and brave, and it said that he made an oath without ever considering breaking it. So I think that kind of sums up voluntarism, anarchism, agorism, whatever you want to call it. And speaking of that, I want to talk about today's, of course, the title of today's content, What's So Bad About Anarchism? And whoever controls the narrative, controls the words, controls the people. We can see that in this whole idea, the whole concept behind anarchy. Anarchy, again, simply means anos, without, archy, rulers. No rulers. It means self-government. But it's been perverted by the media and the government to perpetuate this idea of anarchists as these guys who were storming the Capitol. See, that's not anarchy. In fact, let's look at some definitions here, because again, talking about the narrative being the key. So, first of all, we got to understand that violence is never a means to knowledge. The government has never mended a broken leg by legislation, but it can murder many with a single legislative act. And so, essential in all of this is the first principle of not initiating violence, the non-aggression principle, NAP, as you would say, that I will not initiate violence against another. But the main point of this is voluntary interactions. Let's go to some definitions. Voluntarism, and these are loose definitions, these are my own definitions, and again, you may have, they're pretty broad, but I believe they cover it well. Voluntarism is the ideal that relations among people shall be voluntary and by mutual consent. It doesn't argue for the specific form that it will take, these agreements will take. In fact, that's left up to the individual. See, that's the problem with governments, is that central, top-down, one-size-fits-all thing, and one size doesn't fit all situations. So let's look at agorism. Agorism emphasizes the importance of voluntary, non-violent interactions. That the direct actions is a direct action to undermine the state, to build a society based on the principle of unrestricted voluntary exchange. The state restricts exchange. If you and I decide to engage in an activity, I'm growing vegetables. You have money and you wish to purchase my vegetables, the state wants their hands in it, and the state has done nothing to contribute in any way on either end of it, except for in ways that we don't really want, which is intrusion. But the state doesn't produce anything, but it wants to share. It's almost like Henny Penny's friends. Have you ever heard the story of Henny Penny? If you've never read the story, it's a good children's story. I read it to my granddaughter's classroom several years ago, and their teacher says, "While I agree with the principles you're espousing, we're not taught to put that into our curriculum." In other words, we're here to tell you lies because they tell us to tell you lies. Off topic. But so agorism is a desire, and so is voluntarism, to undermine the state, to cast off the rulers. Anarchism is centered on the belief that government is both harmful and unnecessary, that I don't need to be governed. Do you? And again, when I ask this question, it's so interesting because people will just totally just space out on it. Do you personally need to be governed? Do you need a body telling you how to act, how to proceed, what clothes to wear, what foods to eat? Do you need an entity outside of yourself making decisions for yourself? And so government is unnecessary. The anarchism follows this, the theory that equality and justice are to be sought through the abolition of the state and the substructures of free agreements between, the substitution, of free agreements between individuals. And again, there's the whole key. And that is the way that we undermine and disrupt the state and their power. Heard me talk about just removing your attention from the state. That, again, attention, our intent has energy, our thoughts have energy. When we remove that energy from something, it begins to deplete because we control where our energy goes. And so this is with voluntarism, with agorism, with overthrowing, or as my friend Stephen Curtin said in this wonderful, wonderful quote, underthrowing the state. He said that voluntarism is the destination. Agorism is how we get there. There's simply no other way underthrow the state. And there it is. No violence. See, violence only begets violence. But when you become, as I call, unfuckwithable, so that your peace is beyond any assault, that you're sure of yourself, that you become a tier, that you have set an honorable intention that I will live my life first not to initiate violence against any other person, and that second, I will only engage in voluntary exchanges with others. Those two simple steps would move us miles towards underthrowing this brutal leviathan that hangs over us. Remember, the only thing that the state produces is violence. Take your peace, be voluntary, engage in voluntary activities, cast off the yoke of government. Namaste.